Hey there everyone, my name is Mirsub and I bring forward to you a list of story-centric games that were released between 2015 and 2016 as of the date of this video. Now most of the games I'm going to be mentioning in this list are commonly known or referred to as walking simulators. Now there's a lot of debate going on whether walking simulators are even games in the first place because, they tend to have very little gameplay and you're essentially just walking around. I tend to disagree with that label because I think games should be more centered on, not what you're doing in the game, but based on the kind of feeling or experience it gives you. I think that's more important than anything else. Well, that's enough of me ranting for now. I'm going to start off at number 5 on my list with Life is Strange. Okay, so Life is Strange is an episodic game that was released by Don't Nod Entertainment and published by Square Enix in early 2015. The main protagonist is an 18-year-old girl named Max Caulfield, who inadvertently just gains the ability to travel back through time. The decisions you make throughout the game have a sort of butterfly effect, affecting some of the characters and your relationship with them. It's got a coming-of-age story with mystery, teen drama, and of course, time travel. The story is very engaging and almost immediately you start forming an emotional bond with some of the characters. The story is from the perspective of high school students, and for those of you who recently graduated from high school or are still in high school, you would probably find the story quite relatable. The usual story of teenage rebellion and learning about the consequences of your actions are all still there. The only difference is that there's this little twist of time travel in there, and I think that's what makes the story quite attractive in the first place, is because they're just normal people, but there's this supernatural or outwardly thing that happens to them, and they're just trying to cope with that and trying to reason with it. Now, Soma is a psychological sci-fi horror game produced by Frictional Games. It starts off innocently enough. You wake up, you're on your way for a brain scan, and then the next second you're in this nightmare scenario and you don't know what's going on. Now, although in its essence it's a psychological horror game, what makes the game different and unique, at least for me, was its sci-fi elements. By the time you're done with this game, believe me, you're going to question what it means to be human. This game answers and poses a lot of philosophical questions about what it means to be human and the various ways life can exist. If I go into any more detail, I might just end up spoiling the story. For those of you who are easily frightened or usually don't play these kind of games, I'd honestly say tough this one out because this game is honestly worth it. Bear in mind the game doesn't give you that much in terms of direction or tells you where to go exactly. You might find yourself going through a walkthrough or two. And considering the kind of game it is, it honestly helps for immersion even more. And if you manage to do something without going through a walkthrough, then you're left with this feeling of accomplishment. Because the game really does require you to think about what your next objective or what your next move is.
Talking about what does this have to do with anything?
Why'd your parents get a divorce? Just so Jonas can hear it from you.
Clarissa, I don't really care why they got a divorce, just that Alex's mom is happy now.
You know why. Michael died and it broke everything and they couldn't handle it. The end.
Oxenfree is a choose-your-adventure game developed by Night School Studios that uses branching dialogue, supernatural events, and a coming-of-age story to develop three-dimensional characters that seem real and believable. It's set on an abandoned island which is visited by a group of teenagers for an overnight party. It starts off with the usual melodramatic teen drama and starts to get a bit interesting after they open a supernatural rift, and it all goes to hell from there. The story is almost exclusively carried forward by dialogue, and it has multiple endings based on the choices you make throughout the game. What sets it apart from most other games is its dialogue system, which is very fluid and it's meant to resemble real conversations. If you were to interrupt someone while you're saying something, they'll answer your query and go back to what they were talking about with something like "as I was saying," and talk about whatever they were talking about prior to you interrupting them. At its heart, it's a story about loss and how to cope with things.
So this generator is all the power I've got out here.
Yep, it doesn't go through much gas, and, well, you don't have much in the way of electronics, so...
What about my hairdryer?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Firewatch is a first-person adventure game that takes place entirely in a national park, where you play as Henry, a fire lookout. By exploring the surrounding areas, you uncover clues about the various mysterious occurrences that happen throughout the area. You also encounter a shadowy figure that seems to have taken a keen interest in you and seems to be watching you from afar. Your only source of communication is a walkie-talkie to another fellow fire lookout named Deborah, and you get to choose from a number of dialogue options when you interact with her, when discovering new objects or environments. The script itself is well written and well voiced, and right from the start pulls you into the story. As you progress throughout the story, things start to take a darker tone and a lot of suspense is built up, as you find yourself asking more and more questions about your surroundings. It's got a beautiful if not interesting aesthetic that looks cartoonish, but feels right for this game. The game itself is relatively short and lasts between 4 to 6 hours depending on your playing style, and is best enjoyed finishing in one sitting. The Witcher 3 is an action-adventure RPG produced by CD Projekt Red in 2015. For those of you who are very much into games with lots of lore and focus on story, this is the game for you. It has a very Game of Thrones-like feel to it in the sense that it's set in a fantasy realm, and you have to face the harsh realities of life and the consequences of your actions throughout the game. It's dark, it's gritty, and can be funny at times, and it can get a little raunchy if you know what I mean. The main protagonist is Geralt of Rivia, who is what's called a Witcher, which is essentially a mutated monster slayer. Almost everything you do in the game has a story or reason behind it. Even the most simplest of quests often end in love, betrayal, and death. The main story alone has over 40 hours of content, and after adding the side quests, you can easily have over 100 hours of worthwhile stuff to do. For those of you who haven't played the previous Witcher games, it's recommended that you at least look up the story of the previous two. If you guys liked the video, do hit the like button and subscribe. If you want me to make more videos like this, do let me know in the comments below.